with me, is that it wasn't so much it was sexual, it was more so emotional, and how I felt that I could love romantically, like more than one person.
I don't wanna be your friend, I wanna kiss your lips. I wanna kiss you until I lose my breath. I don't wanna be your friend, I wanna kiss your lips. I wanna kiss you until I lose my breath.
How important do you guys think it is to have frequent sex when you're dating someone? And I know that everyone like says, well, it dies out after a while. Sorry for you. But like I prioritize it personally. How much do you like, how important
It means everything.
you think it means everything?
No, I mean that's an exaggeration, but I have noticed people who are in relationships who are underfucked, they project in a way, and my theory is that it's because like they're not getting laid. So
Do you think do you find that they're like justifying it somehow? I've had friends tell me like, well, it's just not that important to us, and you know, they justify not having as much as maybe they might want to, but they've become comfortable in the relationship for the other things that it.
And
yeah.
I think it's important to like really recognize like not having enough sex, like to whose standards, because like as far as whoever's involved, whoever's having the sex, like they might be good doing it like once a month or once a week, versus other couples I have met who do it every other day.
It depends on the people and how sexual they are.
we're with KJ on his birthday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Hope you get birthday sex.
And I probably maybe.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure.
Look at his outfit. Are you kidding
He's
me?
ready for birthday sex.
He has
It
to.
is black and just ready to be unzipped.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Thank you. Hello, I'm KJ Whitehead. I'm from Chicago. I'm comic. This is my 26th birthday. They, them pronouns. I'm trans. And that's also worth noting. I guess it's a special thing of me. At I am KJ Whitehead and www.imkjwhitehead.net.
I know your pronouns now. I know them. I'm sorry about that.
And
I might have said
happens.
he earlier. And don't hate me.
You did. I don't hate you.
You
Even
thought
when-
I was black, so
So
we're even, KJ. You can still
That's
think
cool.
I'm black too.
No,
It's been revoked. Okay.
yeah. You have the card. You have to.
Right.
You have the card. It's just you're cool with us, is what I'm saying.
That's all that matters.
By the way, for those who don't know, I am black. So, like, I realize people are just listening.
Lindsey just wants to be let in. You're sorry. You can't.
I know. What was that one chick's name who paraded herself as black?
Wait, what?
Rachel Dozal.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel what?
Dozal.
She was in charge of the
NAACP.
yeah, in the
That's-
Washington
She
chapter.
would be so envious of me. You know, she'd skin me.
My theory is Rachel Dolezal.
That's
Where-
you're saying her
where
name
is that
like,
coming
You're
in?
saying her name as like how John Travolta would say her name.
Here's the thing.
Adele Dazeem.
Well, you have the time to like pull off like fucked up schemes like that when you're not having a lot of sex. So maybe she
Really?
maybe she
You
was in
think
one of
that-
those.
She's probably one of
It
those
gives-
that tries to like
maybe.
bang her couch, like humps the the arm of it.
I mean, I guess. I mean, here's another thing is considering like what is that person doing other than like having sex, or why aren't they having that much sex? Is it if it's the couples, like they're good with that, but for me personally, I know that I want to go to a mic or I want to do a show, I have to keep working.
So it's not as important to you.
It's not as important as it used to be. No.
Well, here's the thing. When I said when it's like when I say people who are underfucked, it means according it means according to their actual.
And that's what you were
like,
saying,
quote.
KJ.
Okay.
Yeah, like you were saying
Okay.
though. You were to touch on what you were getting at though. Like some people are more sexual than others, obviously.
Right.
And I feel like within one relationship, you can have someone who wants more sex than the other person, and they, so it's a broad spectrum, obviously, just like sexual,
Oh, totally.
identification and sexuality on a whole is. I think people within one relationship. I mean, ideally, you're both as sexually driven as the other.
Yeah, ideally, synchronicity is definitely a factor in that, because I have dated people who we had sex and it was great. It was really great, but it was like not as much as I wanted to do it.
You weren't
Right.
doing so. The sex when it happened was great.
Yeah.
But you weren't doing it enough.
Not enough, and that kind of evolved into like my introduction to like polyamorous relationships, where it's like, okay, he's hanging out with his other partner, but like I know like they go see a movie and fuck, and like that's fine because I don't feel like doing that right now.
So that really was the impetus behind you being not pushed into, but
One.
as if you were.
Oh wow,
They
that's
bullied me into having sex with multiple people.
Well, is that what you can refer back
it's-
to as the?
It's one of the
inspiration?
factors. It's definitely one of the factors. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, but also like just knowing more people, and the most rewarding part was being close to more people than one, because romance and sex and intimacy is what opens up your heart and your feelings to people, and it all of a sudden like I felt really close to like more than one person, and I thought that
Emotionally, did you feel it was easy to maintain that?
for me it wasn't
Do you think
always.
that's a personal thing for someone in their like it's a personal trait that you hold? Is it a trait of the polyamorous community throughout? Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I'm very
Right.
interested in it. And
I don't know if I can speak for them
Not
as a
in doing
whole,
it,
and I can't say that my polyamorous experience was the most healthy or the most successful one, because you still feel all the same things that everyone else does. You feel jealousy, you feel
Right.
all the things. It's not
Oh.
like you're just totally fine with everything all the time, which I think
really,
is
Wow.
because
No.
you're human,
you're still human,
right?
yeah.
You are, right? No.
So I am
you-
polyamorous.
Okay,
So,
I was gonna share with us a little bit of how what your experience with it has been like,
Well-
and what was your first experience with it, and like, how did you come about that revelation?
I came about it when a friend who I hadn't been talking to for about, I would say, 7 years. We had fallen out back in high school, but we found each other at a point where we actually had very strong feelings for each other. And
Male or female?
a female,
Do you date both male and female?
yes.
Okay.
And so with her, she just got engaged to be married. So that was really nice. And her fiance, he's perfectly fine with me and my feelings for her.
Really?
Yes, you know,
Are they in an open relationship?
for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty open, but they're like still getting legally married and whatnot, because that's how they're still like primary to each other.
Okay.
You know, with me, it's that it wasn't so much it was sexual, it was more so emotional, and how I felt that I could love romantically like more than one person. And like I'm in a relationship right now. We're going on almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in February.
Cool.
And I find myself having feelings for her and wanting to spend a very long time with her. At the same time, this friend who just came back in my life, feeling like I want to be with her as well. And the fact that they've actually talked and we're planning to meet, all of us, so that communication is open, they all know each other, that helps too. That's
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Communication and polyamory is
It's the pinnacle of it.
exactly. It's like no.
So in polyamory, and again, I'm learning more as I go along about
Right.
the whole topic and the practice of it. Would you say it's a practice community? I'm sorry if I'm like using the wrong term. Practice.
I don't know.
I'm going to say community.
Community.
Community,
Okay,
yeah.
community. So I'm learning as I go more about the community. And do you have to have communication, like you were saying, between all parties? Do they all have to agree on it, or is there like sneaking around at all?
No, I remember that was a learning experience for me, because you just come from traditional dating life
Right.
into this, and that's like, dude, you're not Bill Bellamy. Like you remember that movie How to Be a Player? It's like, dude, Bill Bellamy's How to Be a Player. That was it. But it's like, dude, no, they have to know. And I was
Right.
not the best at that at first, because. And it was important to me that my partners actually.
Are they do they
got
identify
along.
as polyamorous too? Is that necessary for the
I don't
party
know.
involved?
I don't think so.
No.
It's not. I mean, there was one of my partners where I felt like because I was doing this that she felt like she needed to go do it, but she didn't want to.
Right. My longer partner who I'm with right now, going on 2 years, she is the same way. she felt like she had to, but I also was like, no, you don't have to. This is your own choice. You know, this is what I need.
It strikes me as something
you know?
something that, just like how you identify sexually, straight or gay, male or female, polyamorous or not, I feel like it's something that is in you that you can't compromise. It's a part of who you are. And for someone else to try to, force themselves to do it just seems inauthentic, obviously.
Right.
And there, I could see where people would want to do it to maybe, understand you more. I was in a situation last year with someone who was dating multiple people. And I wanted to be exclusive, but he was insistent on, not being exclusive with anyone and not wanting a serious girlfriend, but had like a calendar of dates. He would put dates into a calendar of like different people he was seeing. It was his Bumble calendar.
Okay.
And I had to like
I've never even had a Bumble calendar.
I'm like, can you pencil me into one of those? And it was a very foreign concept for me because anyone I had dated before that we hadn't conducted it in this way. And it wasn't, I don't think he identifies as polyamorous even, but he's in a place in his life where being exclusive with someone is not what he wants, and he is very like resistant to it and whatever. But I found myself while going through and trying to navigate this relationship or whatever it was with this person that I had feelings for, I felt myself trying to adopt that mindset of like, okay, let's just be open and free. Like some competitive things kicked in and like some jealousy obviously kicked in, but I did find we talked about having a threesome, and like because I like had these strong feelings for him at the time, I was trying to be really open to a threesome, and it felt like contrived because that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for monogamy. He was someone looking for just openness and so
Yeah,
I did experience a little bit of that of like, I found myself like, all right, yeah, let's talk about a threesome. Maybe I should go and, meet some other people while we're doing this too. And okay, tell me about your date last night with whoever you were hanging out with. And I remember like I had this sinking feeling when I first asked, but like I found myself forcing myself to
like
get on board.
Right.
Get on board. Like, oh, so you were with another girl last night. I want to go play in traffic, but or choke on these eggs in front of me. But tell me about it. Tell me all about it because I want to understand and I want you that bad.
That is so specific with the eggs, like it actually happened. So.
It was like I remember like I got there and we were meeting for lunch, whatever, and I ordered like this monstrosity of like I don't even know what it was. I remember it came to the table and it looked like a murder scene. I was like, I didn't know there was gonna be this much food, and there were eggs involved. I don't know what it was though, and I just remember eggs. It's kind of a tragic memory, and like I remember the food, and I was starving before I got there. I was so hungry, and then this debacle on a plate came, and he was like telling me how because I was prodding. I was like, so. What'd you do last night? Like, I had just gotten back from a trip, and like I was so excited to see him. Blah blah blah. But my psycho girl comes into play. Like, where were you? Who were you with? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like a friend, and it's like, yeah, friend was always the air quote friend, a friend. And I'm like, well, what'd you guys do? And just drank a lot. And I'm like, you were on a date, weren't you? You were hanging, and he's like pried it out of him. And then, even though, like I said, I felt sick to my stomach and I couldn't eat. I had taken one bite of whatever the mess I ordered. I took one bite and then I lost my appetite. Like, so that was just obviously it proved that I was not okay conducting a relationship like that. But because I wanted to explore something with him and like had such like
that's a good first step, I think, into it. And I don't know about you, KJ, but like, for me, part of the experience in polyamory is like facing that uncomfortability and what you described to be as a psycho girl, like the psycho jealous guy.
Yeah.
It's part of me trying to like decimate that part of myself, like where it's like, dude, yeah,
is that a goal of yours to like?
It's part of a goal. It's part of it because it is uncomfortable. But it's like if my partner wants it, who I care about, I want them to have it, and it doesn't mean that makes me irrelevant. It's just
right.
So it seems like it's a real test of self-esteem, a real test of the psyche, a real test of your moral code, a test of just your self identity. It's
sort of, and I think if this person who he's on this date with, and you don't know, he says they just had a lot of drinks or whatever. They obviously it's somebody who he has interest in as a person. And the whole time you're hearing the story, you're just like, oh, fuck them.
It was nice. We were communicating on one level, and it felt refreshing on one level. But on the other hand, it felt just not in line with what I want.
Okay.
And it felt like intrusive and just inauthentic.
I think that is valid.
Albeit we went back to his house and had sex, but I was going to get him back. He had someone last night. Oh, he's going to have me today, and I'm going to be better, right? Like that competition and that ego kicks in.
But
that's what I wonder about polyamory. Does polyamory help to, like Frank said something about decimating jealousy? Does polyamory, you think, help sort of shave down your ego? Is that could it?
I think for me it wasn't so much. I think it could shave down the ego. Just know that because these other people are involved with this person you might be seeing, it's not because you're not enough. It's definitely not because you're not enough. It's
a really good point.
It's because that this person can love and have feelings for more than just one person, and I think that's important. That's really important to note.
I think if you can understand that, and then go within and reflect back on yourself and say, I am enough, just, regardless of how this person is feeling, like you said, multiple feelings for multiple people, having feelings for multiple people, rather, you don't have to be threatened by that necessarily.
No,
you don't have to you don't have to feel inferior to it.
And it's like I feel it comes within other issues with people talking to other people outside of the relationship. As far as for me, when I'm seeing someone, I focus on them. I focus on that person. I don't focus on whoever else they're seeing. If it comes up in conversation.
So it's about staying present, too.
It's staying present and knowing that this is who a person is. This is who a person is. And when other things come up, you might get jealous. I find myself getting jealous every now and again. Mm-hmm. It happens, but I know that this is who this person is, and I know that when I think about it, I am the same way. In conversation, to one of my partners, and I might bring up my long-term partner, and then to a different partner, I might bring up another partner. At one point, I did have 3.
At a time.
Yeah.
Where do you get the energy for it? I'm sorry. I'm one of those, I'm going into a year in the relationship I got with one person. All this, I'm like, it's too many people. I'd lose my fucking mind.
I mean, it's communication. One is communication, too.
I'm
you do
really
have
bad
to
at that with one person. I can't let alone do it with more than...
It is...
I'm too tired.
It is like with anything that takes work that's actually awesome. It's a process.
She come back, walking on change tracks. Lights are moving so fast. Ghost on train tracks.
If you're gay, you're gay. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
If you're polyamorous, I think it's on the same spectrum of that. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
Or do you agree? I mean,
I feel no, it's not going anywhere, but also that it's important to know, just with sexuality too, and actually gender identification. Mm-hmm. I think it's not a choice in being who you are, and you being who you are. You are who you are. It is a choice in whether you decide to give in and truly be yourself or try to cover it up. at the risk of being miserable
See,
and
that's my
depressed.
thing.
Okay.
I've got
That
the
is
kind of
a choice.
personality where if I wanted to do something, I'd be like, you'd be for fun and you'd be for snuggles. And neither one of you.
you'd have
I'd have
Tupperware
multiple
tags on
personalities.
them.
I'll have a British accent with this one. I'll use a condom with that one. Because there's-
You use a condom with a British accent?
Colorful Post-its all over the place.
and then I
this
go
works
into
perfectly.
it'd be like one of those things of like, oops, I booked a date at both of them at the same time at the same restaurant, and then I have
Like
to
a
go and like switch around and like wear a hat or something, change my outfit, like that, like from Mrs. Doubtfire.
I think we got Craig interested because from the performance aspect, he just wants to be
Yeah.
all of the different dimensions of Craig with different people. That's all it is.
You said your name was Sam, huh?
To answer your question, as far as the energy, back to what I was saying, it's a process, and for me, like I have shows, and I have 3 jobs, and I have these relationships. It's a process. You do.
It
for
sounds
me,
like you took the time to explain things to them. They're like on the same level. For me, that sounds like a process in itself. I couldn't go through. I'm like,
What, to communicate at that level with multiple people?
Pretty
that,
much.
Again, I think it's part of who someone is. I think it's a
I
personality
talk to my
trait. It would be.
parents once a month. You really like.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to have 3 boyfriends.
This would be the biggest.
KJ, I was going to ask you: have
Yeah.
you, since you date both men and women,
Yeah.
have you been in polyamorous situations where you've had like a man and 2 women, or like?
I've been This is my
And how
first
do they
actual.
respond? Like people involved.
This is my first actual polyamorous experience. Like I've only started within the last year and a half.
Oh, okay.
So
Stepping
this
stones, really.
right, but so far, like even now, sometimes I make mistakes, but now I'm starting to catch on. And
Well, it's like with
even
any
then-
relationships, you realize things that you do and do not like about yourself, and you want to change.
When you're in a relationship,
Yeah.
that's
And then
huge.
I also realize like things that I do and don't like in relationships. That like I'm willing to say like, hey, I don't want this in a relationship, and it wasn't anything with you. I just realized this isn't for me.
Well, I think
like
we're-
depending
yeah.
on what it is.
It's a
And
gradual process. I mean, as we go through relationships and as we date people, obviously we learn a little bit more about ourselves each time. They're reflections of who we are and what we're going through at
Right.
that time. And that's why I think sometimes people have a hard time like dealing with like the idea of an ex. Like, oh, I have all these exes. Why didn't these relationships work out? Like people get bogged down about that. But if you look at it from a different perspective and look at it like you are human who can love multiple people for different reasons at different times, and it's a learning process. It's kind of like the polyamory approach of like, I can feel different things for different people for different reasons and grow along the way.
Right.
I can imagine like being in a polyamorous relationship, having multiple partners, each person can teach you something different about yourself, obviously.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Like for me, one of my partners, the one that I've been with for 2 years, she is cis, white, and considers herself straight.
I met her, didn't I?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
factory?
you did.
Lovely girl.
And another partner, he's trans, and he's also Middle Eastern. So it's just connecting with that person, the different things. Like on one end, I have this connection to learn about a different culture and how we're different, but at the same time, how we can come together as someone who looked in the mirror and did not like what they saw and had this dysphoria, as well as people who have been affected severely by systemic racism, versus someone else who is trying to understand but still has trouble, has issues coming along.
Well, there's common ground there for sure, and part of being poly, like it expands your world for sure.
It does,
And it challenges you.
I'm thankful for the experience, though. It's taught me a lot, and even the things that don't work out, I think is important to, like, you know, while you might be upset or sad, be glad that those things didn't work out because something in there was not working. Yeah,
and I think one thing I noticed with I hate to say, I almost said straight people, but people who date
straight people.
date monogamously.
Always.
It's always like there's this thing where it's like my crazy ex, and I feel like since I've been poly, like I don't think of anyone I've been involved with seriously as, even though we're no longer involved, I think of all of those people as very valuable people to me as far as like my self-development and what they meant to me. Like there's this thing like if you're monogamous, when you break up with somebody, it's like, yeah, he's crazy, she's crazy.
My exes are
Right.
fucking crazy.
Serious. I am so sorry about that.
Well, no, funny enough, it's just like one of these things. I had like a belt I borrowed from him while we were still together and everything, and we've been broke up for like years now. And then like this was a couple months ago, he like sends me a Facebook Messenger like, hey, can I have my belt back? I'm like, you fucking, it's been like 2 years, dude.
Oh wow,
Let it go.
Yeah, the belt is yours just by law.
It seems-
Seriously.
I don't think he wants the belt.
For real.
Exactly,
I think
right?
he's go-
Exactly.
He's going through a rough
Looking
patch.
for an
That's somebody that's like, oh, I'm still here. Let me meet you. Like we tried being friends, and that didn't work either because you're such a shithead. Like there's a reason why I can't be with you. You don't have your shit together, dude.
Oh yeah, something was not right, like you said.
No. I got
Right.
other exes too that they're totally fine. In fact, I hang out with one of them on
See,
the
that's
regular.
good.
Also, yeah. I mean, we can go and we can like chill out and shit.
One of
Yeah.
my rules for like people who I decide to be like friends with, like friends that I see all the time, is I don't want all of your exes to be psycho according to you. Like if you have like some exes that you're cool with, I feel like it's a sign that you have the ability to be amicable and just admit your faults when
Just say you get along better as friends than you do as actual partners.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah.
yeah, I mean it's not like we hang out every day, but it's like, yeah, I have exes that are just cool and I check up on them and there's no bad feelings. So
No, they're genuine people that I care about and I consider them friends in my realm.
yeah.
And then there's people that I think are just fucking nuts, and yeah, and then you got to keep them away.
What's one thing you got that you all noticed in 2017, this past year, we're out of, as far as just like dating and like being like 30-ish age. You're the youngest of us. But,
Yeah.
well, it seemed like it was a lot easier to date when you're like college age and stuff. And like I don't know, like what are some pros and cons maybe that you've noticed like this in the past year as far as like meeting people and just meeting people that you actually want to know continually?
Well, one thing that's definitely happened is that it seems like it doesn't seem as likely to meet someone in person unless you all have a mutual friend or colleague. A lot of things are digital now. And while that has helped in some ways, it's also pushed like human interaction back quite a bit to the point where it's awkward just to say hi to someone sometimes.
In real life or
In real life, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So-
that's true.
That's one huge thing right there. When you see someone on the internet or when you see someone on television or if you hear some music and whatnot, and then you finally get that person that you connected with through technology, you finally have them right in front of you. Like, I think there's a level in that in everything, not just in relationships, but looking up to people who you admire.
Because there's a reference point. You could be like, hey, I know you from online.
Right. It's definitely gotten way more digital, and in some ways, like, one of the negatives I see is being more superficial. Like,
It is because you're meeting somebody's
Right.
online personality, and they can be completely different in real life. You're not going to know them from like a 5-sentence description
Yeah.
on Tinder.
it's more of an elevator pitch or a business proposal rather than actually trying to connect with someone.
It's a resume,
And meeting.
really. Yeah. It's your. It's your.
It kind of is a resume. Like I go to like a lot of goth shows and stuff, and I meet those people. They're not necessarily comedians. So like
Right.
I'm actually like they ask my Facebook and I don't want to give it to them. I'm like, no, I don't. I want to keep what this is. I want to keep this going.
That's
like,
why I have 2 Facebook accounts.
Do you?
I do have 2
fuck.
Facebook
I
accounts.
see. I've been tempted to do that, but I know why.
Don't add you on Facebook. I'm like, I'm sorry. There's a reason why I don't have a bajillion friends on Facebook because I'm not going to add everybody.
I always think it's shady
My
as fuck
dad
when somebody has so many Facebook accounts.
My dad friend requested me on Facebook like a month ago. I'm like, oh fuck that, no.
Yeah, no thanks. Dude.
No. Why don't you just do what all my aunts and uncles do? Just share the account with mom. Like, my mom's like, you just say such dirty stuff with you, and I'm like, you should check me out on Twitter. I'm worse on Twitter. I Instagram. Yeah, I don't do this. Fuck Facebook. I
didn't know you can put porn on Twitter.
Yeah,
I didn't know
Twitter
that.
totally has porn. That's the reason why it's there.
Really?
I've been on Twitter for like since 2009.
This is new to me.
mean,
Yeah.
All the photos that they report.
There's porn on
Facebook?
Snapchat too. That's the reason why I prefer them, because I'm like, oh, awesome, a dick.
I think I heard
they're
about
kinda,
that.
all right, I can totally watch porn on Twitter. Yeah, it's like 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Whoa,
But
but
that's just enough.
damn, he's quick.
In that case, it's kind of pointless, I guess. It's like if you're on Snapchat, it's only that's the thing. That's not just with like porn. Like I found anything with Snapchat, it's kind of a waste if you can't see it. Like to remember it or go back to it.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
now you just added another layer to it.
Well, it's good too if you want to just be the naked dude on my Snapchat. Okay, because I'm only going to look at you for 10 seconds. All right, be gone. And it's gone. They can't really like record or say anything else.
Do you think things like Snapchat, would you consider them to be sex positive or sex negative? Sex negative meaning that the whole appeal to it is that it deletes after a while and no one can shame you now for having been naked. Or is it sex positive because it encourages you to like actually do sexual shit?
I think it's more sex positive than it is sex negative.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go out and do that, well, then you're only going to do it and show the whole world yourself for 10 seconds, and then you're going to slip into prude mode. My thing is, if you're doing that on Snapchat, you're doing it everywhere else too.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
I hate to just bunch it up, but I'm like, you obviously don't have a problem taking off your clothes in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not like
good.
somebody's going to shame you or say anything for it. It is the internet. You can block comments. You can cancel that out for people. I mean,
And you can just send like little temporary videos or photos
Yeah,
to
you
people.
can do that.
disappear.
You can just turn the channel too.
seriously,
or
if somebody's
click on
offended by you
something
being like,
else,
"Oh, you're
like,
naked," I'm like, "Well, then fucking
everyone-
swipe right, asshole."
Everyone likes what they like.
Yeah,
You know, if you don't like something, then just click on something else.
yeah,
You know, don't shame someone for liking what they like.
yeah.
But for me, it's like I don't use Snapchat. I tried it for like a week, and I just I didn't know what to do with it.
Same here.
I just like putting
But-
face filters on myself and
I could see
trying to be pretty.
I could see the positivity in someone who does see who does feel like taking pictures of themselves or getting those type of pictures taken of them and shown. Sometimes it's liberating.
yeah.
It could be, and for someone who they're not entirely sure, the brief exposure of that and then it going away, that might be helpful. But
I think it is helpful for like the rudimentary like introduction to like being
Right.
comfortable with like being sexual and like showing your body and stuff.
Right.
But ideally, I think we would graduate to a point where we wouldn't need these things to. The thing about Snapchat, it's just like a temporary photo. It goes away once you view it.
Right.
And ideally for me, like we'd live in a society where like if somebody finds my nude and they're like, oh, we saw this nude. You didn't find dirt on me. You just found out that I have a dick. Like you didn't find anything weird about
Yeah. It's not like the beard and everything else wouldn't give away that I might have a penis.
me. Right.
Yeah.
But I can understand. It's like, what if you actually sent those pictures to someone and somehow it got escaped, and it's a violation of trust too, as well.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. But the fact that the thing is like giving society the power to say, hey, you're bad because you were naked at some point, I think is what.
That's dumb.
There are some fucked up weird parts to it, but I think overall it's offering an opportunity for more people to do shit that they otherwise wouldn't do.
It is.
And there's communities online that you can just be comfortable at home and like meet people like-minded. Like if you have there's like kink websites, fetish websites. There's stuff you can you can instantly meet people who are like-minded, and you can just be like, oh, I'm not that weird, and you can immediately feel whatever it is that's making you feel ostracized. You can feel normalized in like a minute with online stuff, because there's more like you, and you don't have to leave your house to find them. So I think overall it's pretty good.
Overall, yes, it is. Overall.
There are some setbacks, though.
There are setbacks that I think, as we advance technology and the internet, that we're trying to work out.
I can't wait for the Black Mirror episode where like the app really people will be having sex with their phones.
Really?
Soon enough, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think
so it
Black
hasn't
Mirror's
come
gonna
out.
have an episode where they're going to do that.
Not
yet.
I
but-
just started watching Black Mirror, and yeah, I think that's a possible episode. I heard that show only had one happy ending among
They're
all the
dark.
episodes.
They are very, very. It's a very dark show.
I've only seen the first one released on Netflix, which is I think the third season.
Some
of those made me cry. Some of those I really like. The one where it's like it's two girls and they're dating, but they're actually in reality like these elderly dying women.
That's the San Junipero.
That's the sense.
Really?
Oh, that's what sounded like familiar to me.
That's
and
the
it's
episode.
like they're in the 80s. There's this 80s like clubs they're in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, oh, like when you realize I cried for that. That was so.
You saw
good.
the ending, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
I haven't seen it yet. Okay,
It's
I need to
good.
watch it.
It's good.
No spoilers. I guess just.
Yeah, this is like a year and a half ago.
If you haven't, all right, listeners, if you haven't seen that, then I'm sorry.
You gotta
You've
get
had
on board.
time.
This is
And
not-
you have Netflix.
Yeah. If you have the internet, you needed to watch it.
But
Sorry.
even in then, like you saw that episode, for that alone, it's like some people see that as a sad ending, some see it as a happy one. But my thing is, it goes back to what was going on like earlier, what we talked about, or definitely a point I brought up, is that it matters to the people involved. If they are happy, or how many other people are involved, really, who's to like really say you should be doing this in a relationship or that in a relationship? No, do whatever works in that relationship
For those
and
people.
for those people, and
right.
how you figure that out is communicating with each other and actually asking, what do you need? How can I do that? Can we compromise on something?
And that's part of a growing experience. Totally, yeah. Well, this has been fun.
This was a good time. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, KJ.
No problem. Thank
back
you all so
anytime.
much. Once again, I am KJ Whitehead on Twitter and Instagram. www.imkjwhitehead.net. You can see me at Zanies in Rosemont, January 9th.
Go see KJ this Tuesday, January 9th at Zanies in Rosemont. Lindsey Shaw will be performing January 11th at Gallery Cabaret in Chicago. The music is from Girl in Red, all the way from Norway. girlinred.bandcamp.com. This has been Neon Voices, where you can always find Craig and I, neonvoicespod@gmail.com.